What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss the fourth stimulus package update, stimulus check update, everything going on here in our country, in Washington, D.C., with our economy, money, investing, the stock market, everything you need to know about on a daily basis. If you're new to our YouTube channel, make sure to click the subscribe button down below so you don't miss out on new videos that come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you find these videos helpful, don't forget to hit the like button for us down below. We got a lot to talk about here. We're going to jump right in, starting with this. Senator Bernie Sanders says that he's basically open to Senators Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. Dun, dun, dun. Democratic Senators Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema kind of being kicked out of the Democratic Party. As you can see from this headline here, Bernie Sanders open to supporting primary challengers against Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. Basically, he's saying that he would support other Democratic parties to come in and take over their seats in upcoming elections. So other Democratic candidates would be better for the Democratic Party than them. Yeah, check this out. And I'll give you Joe Manchin's response here in a moment. Senator Bernie Sanders from Vermont thinks there's, quote, a good chance that Senators Joe Manchin, a Democrat from West Virginia, and Senator Kyrsten Sinema, a Democrat freshman senator from Arizona, will face challenges in the future from Democratic primaries, other Democratic candidates. And Bernie says he would be open to supporting their opponents instead of Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin because of how much grief they have brought to the Democratic Party over these voting rights bills and stimulus bills, the Build Back Better bills, and several different things. When asked about the likelihood of Manchin and Sinema being challenged by other Democrats, Bernie Sanders indicated he thinks, quote, there's a very good chance of that happening, though he observed it's up to the people of those states. When asked if he would be open to supporting a challenger, Bernie answered very bluntly, yeah, I would. Sanders' comments reflect growing frustration with the two centrist Democrat senators among progressive lawmakers who are still angry over their roles in whittling down and stalling President Biden's Build Back Better agenda, and now also the voting rights agenda as well. Also, Martin Luther King Jr.'s family led a speech here in the last, actually this week here, and called out Senator Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin here on voting rights legislation that the Senate is considering here this week. Martin Luther King Jr.'s family called out Senator Joe Manchin and Senator Kyrsten Sinema by name, saying that they need to consider this. They need to pass this in the Senate. This is everything that Martin Luther King Jr. stood for, and his legacy stands for, and that Senator Joe Manchin and Senator Kyrsten Sinema, by not passing this, are potentially not doing justice to Martin Luther King Jr. You can go back and watch their speech. It's very, very powerful, but you can let me know your thoughts here. We have a lot of people that are very, very frustrated on multiple different fronts here with the Senate. Even President Biden himself called on the Senate to change the filibuster rules to pass these voting rights. In a forceful speech you can see here, he says, quote, I'm tired of being quiet, and they need to pass this rule, change the filibuster. Remember, the Republicans changed the filibuster just a few years ago to appoint Supreme Court justices. The Republicans did that when Mitch McConnell was Senate Majority Leader. They changed the filibuster. Democrats want to do it now for voting rights. And, well, Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema are probably going to block it. Joe Manchin responds to this stance saying, quote, bring it on. Bring it on, he says. Senator Joe Manchin defended his position against his own party to changing the 60 vote legislative filibuster and told progressives threatening to primary him or that other Democrats could take over his position in the Senate and the fight to, quote, bring it on. He says, I've been primaried my entire life. That would not be anything new for me. Bring it on, Manchin told reporters when asked about some of his colleagues not ruling out supporting a primary opponent. Meanwhile, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is proposing to maybe get a somewhat compromise of going to a talking filibuster, which would mean they would still be changing the filibuster. This would mean somewhat of a what you would need to do is go to a what they do is called a talking filibuster. This is similar to what Republican leader in the House, Kevin McCarthy, did when he wanted to temporarily block the Build Back Better package before it passed in the House. Remember, it passed in the House, but not the Senate. He stood up there for like 9 hours and broke the record for the longest speech to temporarily block the package for 9 hours. But a talking filibuster means you can only block it for as long as you can stand up there and physically talk. Okay, you can't block it forever. Right now, the filibuster means if you don't get 60 votes in the Senate, you can block it forever. Now, you can use the reconciliation process to block or to pass bills, just a certain amount of bills, that were about two per year, and pass certain things. That's how the Democrats passed the third stimulus check package, the $1,400 checks and $1,400 checks for children, and the $3,000 to $3,600 child tax credits, which have now expired. That was for last year. They're trying to pass it for this year as well, but they need Joe Manchin's vote, or they need to come to a compromise with Joe Manchin, or they need to get some Republican votes, or do some standalone bills. All of the things are they're considering now. We could see this here going forward. There's actually some Republicans in favor of that, or we could see some changes to the bills. Lots of different things under consideration now, especially with how bad the virus is. And remember that stimulus package 1, stimulus package 2, stimulus check 1, stimulus check 2 were passed with bipartisan support. Republicans and Democrats came together to pass that. The Trump tax cuts, 2017 Trump tax cuts, that's kind of the informal name for them, those were passed with the reconciliation card as well. That's when Republicans controlled the House, the Senate, and the presidency, and they passed it without any Democratic votes as well. So remember, Republicans do it, Democrats do it, and Republicans changed the filibuster in a couple years ago when they wanted to change the filibuster, and they did it to appoint Supreme Court justices. And now we just had this major Supreme Court ruling where they struck down the vaccine mandates for employers over 100 employees, and but they did uphold the vaccine mandate for healthcare workers. So this is kind of like, ooh, these are major decisions here, and it kind of is like, ooh, they struck down the filibuster there, and now Democrats are trying to do it, and just kind of you kind of get this feeling that what's good for the goose is good for the gander, and you see one party doing it, the other party trying to do it, and yeah, you kind of get this feeling like, these are like major decisions going on with our country here. Yeah, so you kind of like think about this, like, yeah, these are like major decisions that affect people's lives for many many years, right? Remember, Supreme Court justices, they get appointed for life, so they're there like 30, 40 years later in some cases making decisions for all of us, right? Yeah, so these are major decisions going on here right now. When we think about a pandemic here, once in 100 years, the last one that was really this bad was back to 1918 with the Spanish flu, that claimed the lives of like 50 million people. Yeah, so lots and lots of crazy stuff going on here right now. We're just seems like every week we're just into these major decisions here, and this is kind of the stuff that it's it's crazy to say this, but like pandemics like this, or Great Depressions like this, and you think about back to 1929 here in the 1930s, and we had the unemployment program and the Social Security program come out of that. I have some viewers here that are in their 90s, close to 100 here. One of our winners from the What's in the Box contest, she commented that she was 95 years old. Well, well, congratulations. When she was born, Social Security didn't even exist. So just imagine that, just to kind of put that in perspective, that when she was born, there was no Social Security program. So it doesn't, when you kind of think about that, that it seems long ago, but it doesn't seem that long ago. So when you think about a lot of these programs are like, wow, imagine that those people, that's a lifetime ago, but not that long ago. So when she was born, there was no Social Security benefits. There was no Social Security benefits. Think about her mom and dad had no Social Security retirement. Nothing. There was also no unemployment. So, like in the Great Depression, when they lost their job, there was no unemployment office. So when you lost your job, the government didn't step in to give you unemployment. You were just SOL. Now, eventually, they did the unemployment here. That's where those bills came in and they passed that. Those were radical ideas back then. And if you would have brought up the idea of stimulus checks back then, that would have been radical. And who knows what party would have been what back then, because you know honestly, if you look at the history of the Republican Party and the Democratic Party throughout the years, their ideas actually change dramatically. You look at a lot of presidents throughout the years, some presidents that you might have thought would be Democrat or might be Republican based on today's views, they're actually very, very different back throughout the years. It's a pretty interesting lesson if you ever want to look back through there. But views on Democrat and Republican changed throughout. You look back 100 years ago. Just because our view of Democrats and Republicans today doesn't necessarily mean that that's what they were a long time ago. And if we talk about filibusters and rule change and voting rights and stimulus back then, the government handing out stimulus checks and unemployment checks and helping people in their time of needs, the U.S. government didn't do that back then. You think about what they did here now, three stimulus checks and unemployment checks and food stamps, benefits, and paycheck protection program, student loan forgiveness, rent assistance, mortgage assistance, utility assistance. All that stuff did not exist less than one lifetime ago. I mean, we have people watching the show right now that were alive, and not a single one of those things existed. It's kind of crazy to think about if you actually think about that. There's people watching this show right now that were alive, just a few years old, of course, in their 90s, but there was no Social Security program, there was no unemployment program. These programs were in the Great Depression, being born, and their mothers and fathers were dealing with that. And stock market was crashing, unemployment was crashing, jobs were crashing, businesses were going out of business left and right. Sound somewhat familiar, right? Um, it is actually somewhat familiar of kind of what we just went through, right? Kind of somewhat what we're still kind of going through. I know that we're trying to come out of this, but the problem is we're dealing with a virus now in addition, and that's the difference here that we're dealing with dramatically, is that it's not just an economic issue, it's a pandemic. And honestly, we wouldn't be in this issue at all if it weren't for the pandemic, right? I mean, that's what caused this entire issue is the pandemic. And when you think about right now, we're still dealing with 700 to 800,000 people right now testing positive. It's still like at its worst. It's crazy. And the question is, how long is this going to go on? I mean, you got to think that this started in 2020, and then all of 20, March, February 2020, all of 2020, all of 2021. all of 2022. And you can't really blame anybody. I get some of the naysayers want to say, oh, the vaccine's this, the vaccine's that, the mask this, the mask that, the mask this, mask that, whatever. But I mean, you got to think science and stuff. They're trying to do their best, right? What would you rather do? Not do anything, right? I mean, when you look back at 1918, when we didn't really have modern medicine per se, that pandemic claimed the lives of over 50 million people and actually ended World War One. So I mean, and you got to think about other things like polio and hepatitis, HIV, and all these other things, H1N1, and all these other things that we've dealt with throughout the years, right? Um, some of them that we've eradicated, right? And some of them could have been a lot worse. Who knows what we're going to have to deal with in the future, right? Um, so hopefully modern medicine keeps improving, right? Think about 100 years ago where modern medicine was, right? Some people are 100 years old. Think about where it was back then. Think about the improvements that we have today. Think about where we might be in another 20 years or 40 years, or think about where our children might be in 50 years, where modern medicine might be. It's kind of interesting to think about. And in 1918, when they had that pandemic, modern medicine was not quite so modern. You got to think it's leaps and bounds better than what it was. I don't even think they had very many vaccines or anything quite. It was just kind of you were just kind of on your own. So modern medicine has come quite far compared to. I mean, you got to think we have several um, viruses that we've completely eradicated. Thanks to modern medicine. So who knows what the future holds? But we're 3 years into this, and it does kind of make you think: how long is this going to be? Is it going to be endemic? Is it going to be, which means it could be around forever, like the flu, like the common cold? But our bodies will get used to it. You think about the flu and the common cold, although the flu does kill some people every year. People that you know aren't the strongest people. I don't want to, categorize anybody here or anything like that. But generally, people that are healthy and stuff can survive, right? They do have flu shots every year, though, right? You can choose to get that or not. But the question is where is this main virus here going to take us? And it'll be interesting to see where we go from here. And we're in 2022. We're into the third year of this virus: 2020, 2021, 2022. Lord help us, because we could use it, right? We could use it, and it's tough. It's just really really tough here. And in addition to that, we just think about the virus part. We also have the economic part. We have just millions and millions of people struggling. Think about how many people right now are out of work because they're quarantining. They're sick. And I see your guys' comments every single day. My family's sick. I'm sick. We can't go to work. I see that every single day. And my thoughts and prayers go out to everybody. Um, and it's just crazy out here right now. So it does look like we're gonna hopefully be kind of over the curve here soon, where cases are going to start to be going down. I see that they're starting to go down in some areas across the country. So we hope that that continues here, and I'll keep you up to date here with everything. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Make sure to subscribe to our channel down below. We're almost to 400,000. Help us kind of reach our goal here and get the word out. Remember, I'm your advocate. I'm here as your daily voice here every day. And we have a lot of people that watch our show here, and I'll be here kind of putting the word out for you here every single day. It's completely free to subscribe. New videos come out here. Just click the subscribe button down below. New videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can click here to watch my newest video next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next video.